In front of a dark cave, a group of knights are preparing to enter, followed by a powerful-looking hero. Without warning, magic circles appear and various magical swords and axes dart out of them, dismembering some knights and killing others. As the knights start retreating, the hero slowly and confidently walks inside the ominous cave. He is the church's secret weapon, a man called Shagrua Edith Lugrid, also known as the Calamity Crusher. When he reaches the deepest part of the cave, a gigantic skeletal monster rises from the ground and attacks with black lightning. Shagrua counters it with a lightning spell of his own. His enemy is known as the Corpse God, a mad and powerful necromancer who lives deep inside the labyrinth in the cave. He has been summoning so many undead that they started coming to the surface and causing chaos. Moving incredibly quickly, Shagrua raises his sword and clashes with the Corpse God. The fight continues, as the necromancer launches weapons and skulls toward Shagrua, but they are deflected effortlessly. Getting angry, the Corpse God casts a strange, powerful-looking spell. Tentacles of darkness appear and form into a magic circle, which then collects bones from the cave and transforms them into an undead dragon. Casting a spell, Shagrua strengthens his sword and cuts the dragon in two. Knowing that the Corpse God's undead are going to consume the world if he doesn't defeat him, Shagrua charges at the fiend once again. Realizing that Shagrua is stronger than he thought, the Corpse God summons a small army of skeleton soldiers to stop him. Shagrua remembers his past. People have been dying all around him his whole life, but he always somehow evaded death. It turns out that he has an evil eye which makes him see the spirits of every being he has ever killed, from humans to insects. While most people born with the evil eye dedicate themselves to the church or become an evil necromancer, Shagrua chose to fight for his country. Now, he shoots a powerful fire spell at the undead army and charges through it, dwindling their numbers little by little. Having gotten closer to the Corpse God, he fires a spell at the ceiling, distracting the fiend with falling debris. Shagrua then leaps at the Corpse God, breaking off a part of his armor with the slash of a sword. The Corpse God's true form is revealed, and it turns out that he's just a brain in a jar. He admits that he considers all lives his playthings and that he possesses an evil eye just like Shagrua. However, while he enjoys the resentful cries of all the people he killed, Shagrua can't relate. Raising his 6 skeletal arms, the Corpse God starts casting a spell that not even Shagrua can recognize. When it becomes apparent that the Corpse God is trying to run away somehow, Shagrua furiously runs toward him and slashes at his brain in a jar in the middle of his skeletal body. In Shinjuku in modern-day Japan, a white-haired boy wakes up in an alleyway. He has no idea where he is, and he's even more confused when he realizes that his throat has been slit open. He wanders out onto a busy street, feeling like he's in an unknown world. From a dark computer room, someone is controlling a drone and recording the boy. He's surprised that the boy isn't dead, even though he should be, and contacts someone to check on him. In the city, the boy realizes that he's in a peaceful land where the children are happy, which is completely different from where he came from. Even though he doesn't know if he can ever return, he hopes his own country has a bright future. Suddenly, 2 friendly-looking policemen approach him. He can't understand them at first, but quickly starts recognizing words and then whole sentences, realizing that it's due to his new body and brain adapting to the new soul inside of it. As he gradually regains his ability to speak, he tells the policeman that his name is Polka Shinoyama. Just as the policemen notice his neck wound, a mysterious glasses-wearing girl appears and jumps on one of their heads. Polka asks her who she is, but she just grabs his hand and cheerfully drags him away somewhere. After they were running for a while, the two stop in a dark alley. The girl introduces herself as Misaki Sakamiya. And when he hears her name, Polka starts remembering something about her. Suddenly, she grabs him and starts shaking him. When she puts him down, she tells him she's glad that he's not a ghost. Polka doesn't know what she's talking about, but he gets even more confused when Misaki tells him that she will have to kill him again. As she starts acting crazy and sadistic, Polka remembers that she is the one who killed the original Polka Shinoyama by slashing his throat. While Polka is running away, the man in the computer room is still watching everything that's going on through his drone. He knows that Misaki was paid to kill Polka by someone. Having hidden inside an abandoned building, Polka realizes that he can't sense any spirits at all. In this world, there's barely any magic in the air, and his body doesn't have any magic either. Since he can't heal himself with magic, he realizes that he could die easily if Misaki tries to kill him. Suddenly, Misaki finds him and attacks once again, this time throwing knives at him. After he dodges them, Misaki picks up a steel pipe and starts attacking him recklessly. Polka takes a steel pipe too to defend himself, but his body has less stamina than he expected and he's in serious danger of getting killed. One of Misaki's knives finally hits and pierces his leg. He starts getting scared, but then he remembers something and gets his determination back. Pulling out the knife, he throws it back at Misaki, but she dodges, impressed by his skill. Limping, Polka gets away and enters another, even darker room. Misaki appears behind him and explains that they're on a Yakuza execution ground. She says that there are rumors about angry ghosts haunting the place, which is why there are never any people around. Hearing this, Polka realizes she's right. Using his evil eye, he sees tons of spirits and realizes that the evil eye is a power connected to his soul, not Tohai's body or his brain. While Misaki doesn't have an idea what's going on, Pol causes the spirits to summon a gigantic skeletal arm and pierce her chest with it. He tells her that all lives are his playthings and that's why she shouldn't waste them. Back in the labyrinth in another world, Shagrua has seemingly killed the corpse god, but he's not so sure he has actually defeated him, even though all traces of his soul have vanished from the world. We realize that Polka is actually the reincarnation of the corpse god. In the human world, Polka thanks Misaki for bringing him to a place where he can use his full power. He thinks that in this world he can finally have a peaceful life. Because of his evil eye, he couldn't even have any peace as a child, because he would be haunted by vengeful spirits on a daily basis. One day, his parents sold him to the court sorcerers, who then made him fight on the battlefield as a necromancer. Even then, he always just wanted to live quietly. The only peaceful period of his life was when he encountered a group of orphan children and joined them. He lived peacefully with them for years, helping them and playing with them. However, one day the kingdom's army found the children and killed them all, convinced that a necromancer corrupted their souls. After that happened, the corpse god spent the next 100 years getting his revenge on the kingdom. He built a huge labyrinth and filled it with the corpses of his enemies. However, after all that, the only thing he really wanted was peace. He waited for centuries for someone to enter his labyrinth and end his life. One day, the hero Shagrua finally arrived and killed the corpse god, enabling him to use reincarnation magic so he can be born anew in a different world. In the present, Polka removes the skeletal arm from Misaki's body and he's shocked that she's dead because she didn't want to kill her. He's worried because there's no way he can live a peaceful life while he's running away from the police. Meanwhile, the man in the computer room is still watching everything through his drone. He contacts a woman called Clarissa and shows her the drone's footage. When she was a child, Misaki was beloved by her parents. They taught her to always make other people happy with her smile. However, one day her parents were killed right before her eyes by a sadistic burglar. Having witnessed that, something snapped inside of her. She became known as Assassin Zaki, an assassin who hunts down killers, tortures and kills them. The woman called Clarissa pretends she's an owner of a bar, but she's actually an intermediary between assassins like Misaki and the Yakuza. One day, Misaki was hired to kill a person who she was happy to discover was her parents' killer. Gleefully, she used a nail gun to slowly kill him and finally get her revenge. Some time later, Misaki took the job to kill Polka, even though he's just a normal kid, because she considered her life's goal fulfilled by killing her parents' killer. She wanted to find out how messed up she really is. Having killed him, she realized she could kill good people as well as bad people and thought that she was better off dead. She thought that someone like her couldn't make anyone happy. Just a moment before she jumped off the roof of a building intending to end her life, a man called Takumi Kiria called her on the phone and she stopped. Takumi is an information broker who works with Clarissa and he's the same person was watching Polka through a drone in the present. Before Misaki was able to jump off the building, he told her she can end her life if she wants, but first she has to finish her job. That's when she found out that Polka is somehow alive and well, even though she murdered him. In the present, Misaki wakes up. Polka reveals that he has revived her using magic, but before they can continue talking, they're interrupted. A group of people dressed in black appears. Clarissa is there too, and when she sees Misaki, she hugs her. Feeling that Misaki feels cold and has no pulse, she confirms that she's 100% dead. 40 minutes before that, Takumi told Clarissa about what was happening, and she immediately went to the abandoned building with a bunch of Yakuza, where she found Polka reviving Misaki. Clarissa tells Polka that the Yakuza came to avenge Misaki's death, but Polka then tells them he's trying to resurrect her. Clarissa and the others don't believe him, and Polka is surprised to find out that there are no practitioners of spirit arts in this world. Seeing that they don't believe him at all, Polka shows off his magic powers and threatens the Yakuza. However, he's not sure he has enough mana to fight them all off and he's just bluffing. Suddenly, they hear fire engine sirens and Takumi tells Clarissa that a fire broke out in a nearby building. Looking at Takumi's video feed, Clarissa mentions that there's an unlicensed nursery in that building, but she believes the fire department can handle it. Hearing this, Polka remembers the orphan children he lived with in the past and asks Clarissa to take him there. Seeing his determination, Clarissa tells Takumi to lead him to the building with his drone. Using his skeleton arms to leap through the town, Polka quickly reaches the burning building. He amplifies his evil eye and senses faint life force signals inside. Launching himself into the burning building, he quickly finds the unconscious children. Above them, he sees the spirits of their parents, who have already died, asking them for help. Polka returns the spirits into the skeletal remains of their bodies. The revived skeletons then help Polka rescue the children before they disappear. For one last time, the children feel the warmth of their parents' touch. After he rescues the children, Polka runs away unseen, but people have taken photos of the skeletons he summoned and uploaded them to social media. Having witnessed all that, Takumi is confused as to what to think about Polka. He doesn't understand why he killed Misaki so easily, but cared so much about the children. When Polka comes back to the abandoned building, Misaki wakes up and she's as cheerful as always. But she's confused about how she ended up being a zombie. Thinking about the fire, Polka asks Clarissa what it would take to find peace in this world. Clarissa tells him that money is the most important. She asks him what he wants and Polka tells her that he doesn't know anything about this world, but he decided he's going to try and use his magic to earn money. He wants to acquire power and a place where he belongs so he can live in perfect, undisturbed peace. Hearing this, Clarissa tells him she wants to lend him a hand. She reveals that her real name is Lisa Karaki and tells him she'll help him adjust to life in the city. Clarissa assigns Misaki and Takumi to move in with Polka in a building she owns and help him with whatever he needs. Hearing this, Takumi is horrified, but still ends up accepting the request. Later, Polka's skeletons end up on the news and Misaki is impressed seeing the footage. Even though Misaki was killed by Polka, she doesn't mind hanging out with him and she actually thought getting killed was super thrilling. It turns out the building they've moved in is actually the torture building of the Yakuza. There are many vengeful spirits, which is why Polka likes it there. Takumi worries about Polka's family in this world, but Polka tells him he told them that he's on a journey of self-discovery and he's periodically sending them postcards, because Polka's last memory of Misaki killing him left a huge impact. The corpse god reincarnated as Polka can't access many memories before that and doesn't really remember anything about his past life or his family. Polka actually isn't sure if he's in another world at all, since there are similarities between his world and this one. However, the most important thing to him is that the Geldwood religion doesn't exist here. That religion hunted him down and tried destroying him. Polka thinks that the only thing preventing him from having a peaceful life now is the man who tried to have him killed, and that's why he wants to talk to him. Nobody except Clarissa knows who the man is, but she told him she has to keep it a secret. Since he doesn't want to threaten her or force her to tell him, Polka decides to investigate by himself. Since he can manipulate spirits and put them inside objects, Polka reveals that he put the ghost of the original Polka who died into one of Takumi's drones until he can find a better body for him to possess. He can even communicate with spirits, and he tells the others that the original Polka asked him to forgive Misaki despite the fact that she killed him. Polka is trying to think of a job he could do to earn money and Misaki tries convincing him to become an assassin. But he doesn't want to do that. Suddenly, Takumi notices a man outside the building. He's there to talk to Misaki and wants her to protect him from another gang's hitmen. But Misaki is reluctant to accept his request. However, Polka is strangely interested and tells the man he wants to take the job. Hearing this, Misaki changes her mind and decides to join the man after all. That night, the man takes Misaki to the headquarters of the hitman family who's targeting him. When she learns that those assassins are known as psychos who murder their target's entire families, Misaki realizes that it's the group her parents' killer was the boss of. Curious, she sneakily approaches the building, but a group of gangsters with bats notice her and attack. Misaki is unimpressed and quickly knocks them all out. Suddenly, she's shot 2 times from behind. It turns out that the man who hired her tricked her. He's part off hitman family he claimed wants to kill him, and they all want to get revenge for Misaki killing their boss. Polka then shows himself, having seen everything. Since she's a zombie, Misaki gets up again and starts beating up the hitmen with a wicked smile. It turns out that Polka talked to ghosts of children who appeared around the man who fooled Misaki and decided to fulfill their request. Using the ghosts of the children, Polka summons one of his skeleton arms and crushes the hitmen into a ball. Having gotten their revenge, the ghosts finally leave Earth in peace. When Polka and the others get back to their apartment, Misaki is impressed by how fast her bullet wounds healed up. Takumi asks Polka why he helped the dead kids even though he always says that human lives are his toys. Then, Polka tells him that every human life eventually turns into someone's toy. However, he likes toys because they make children smile and he does his best to take care of them. Hearing this, Takumi realizes that Polka is actually a good guy, while he and Misaki actually seem to handle human lives more recklessly than he does. Later, Polka reads about vampires, surprised that they don't exist in this world. He says he could evolve Misaki into a vampire if he gets enough mana, and she gets excited. Somewhere else, Clarissa is getting a massage. She gets a phone call from the man who wanted Polka dead, but she tells him she won't accept any more attempts on the boy's life. In a bar in town, the Yakuza are threatening a black-haired man and trying to extort money from him. In the next room, a blonde man touches one of the waitress's butts, but a bouncer quickly reacts and grabs him by the head. Meanwhile, Takumi is concerned about Misaki being a zombie, but Polka explains that it's fine. Her body self-repairs and she doesn't rot, but she needs to eat raw meat when she gets seriously injured. Her saliva can also paralyze people for some reason, which she immediately tests out by biting Polka. Meanwhile, the police finds the Yakuza that Polka rolled into a ball earlier and decide to call the case the human knot case. In the bar, the black-haired man beats up all the Yakuza that were threatening him. Suddenly, his partner gets a call. In Polka's apartment, Polka thinks about how his original world could be connected to this world somehow. The people in both worlds look similar, and it's strange that magic works in the same way too. Takumi then mentions the hitmen Polka killed. But he's surprised when Polka tells him that he didn't kill them, he just rolled them into a ball with a bunch of dirt. At sunrise, the two men from the bar discover those same hitmen, the human knots. The blonde man's name is Tsubaki Iwanome and the black-haired man's name is Kuzaburo Ares. They are actually from a special division of the police that deals with strange crimes. The next day, at the Shinjuku police station, Tsubaki gathers all the policemen in his division. Tsubaki and Kuzaburo have caught many strange criminals, but they can never make the cases they're working on public. There are still 3 unsolved cases that involve criminals they nicknamed the Grim Reaper, the Fire-Breathing Bug, and Lemmings. They're also looking for the person who summoned skeletons during the building fire and who attacked the Yakuza later, not knowing that person is Polka. They found footprints of the person they call Lemmings at the scene where the Yakuza were and think that the fire-breathing bug set fire to the building where the skeletons appeared. All the criminals that Tsubaki and his partner caught turned out to be regular humans in the end, so they don't believe Polka's magic was real either. They think the perpetrator of the recent happenings has to be a regular human. Meanwhile, in his apartment, Polka moves the original Polka's soul into a stuffed shark doll and returns the drone to Takumi. Seeing the doll, Misaki thinks it's cute and hugs it, making the Polka shark embarrassed. The shark can move, but he can't talk. Polka says that he could make him talk, but he would need fresh human vocal cords to do that. He could make them with magic, but that would require a huge amount of it. Thinking about that, Polka decides to focus on replenishing his magical power before he starts earning money. By exorcising earthbound spirits, necromancers can convert the power of their good Shinto magic. That's why Polka can use powerful magic in the Yakuza's torture building, where a lot of people have died painfully. Polka then finds out that in this world there are mana stones, just like in his world. Diamonds, sapphires, and other gemstones are a source of mana, and he thinks that with a bucket full of them he could get all the magic power he needs. However, Takumi shatters his dreams when he tells him how expensive gemstones are in this world. In Polka's original world, gemstones were so cheap that even children could afford them. He could suck out the magic from the stones in a jewelry store without buying them, but that would shatter them and he doesn't want to bother the shopkeeper. While they're heading back home, Polka and Misaki encounter Kuzaburo, who immediately jumps up into the air and grabs the drone Takumi is flying. Meanwhile, Tsubaki visits Clarissa in her bar. He accuses her and her people of being involved in the building fire and the human knot case. In the street, Kuzaburo tries convincing Polka that Takumi is scum who he shouldn't hang around with, but Polka gets angry. He remembers being called scum in his original world and tells Kuzaburo that society decides what to label someone. But he is the one who decides who his friends are. Sensing Polka's bloodlust, Kuzaburo backs away from him but thinks he's interesting. Takumi remembers seeing Kuzaburo defeat 8 of the toughest Yakuza he has seen all by himself and warns Polka that he shouldn't reveal his magic powers to him if he doesn't want to get investigated by the police. When he realizes that Kuzaburo won't quit asking questions, Takumi calls him on the phone and tells him that Polka and Misaki are just his gaming buddies whose relatives work at Clarissa's bar. He tells him that they have nothing to do with anything illegal, but Kuzaburo doesn't believe it. Suddenly, 4 more drones appear and Takumi tells Kuzaburo that a video of him bullying kids wouldn't be good for his image. However, Kuzaburo doesn't feel threatened at all and spitefully tells Polka that Takumi is a bad person who he shouldn't trust. Not believing him, Polka gets angry and tells Kuzaburo that he's even worse for bad-mouthing someone. Kuzaburo notices that Polka isn't a regular boy. He feels that he has the aura of a hardened mobster. Even though Polka is still hiding his powers, Misaki suddenly goes berserk and kicks Kuzaburo, believing she can later just say she that was defending against a creep who was about to assault her. She grabs Polka and runs away with him, while Kuzaburo staggers back up, surprised by Misaki's strength. He noticed that her kick is stronger than a normal girl's kick should be and runs after the two, but they get away in the end thanks to Polka's powers. Takumi contacts Polka and confesses that Kuzaburo was right. He would reveal everything about Polka if his life was in danger. However, Polka tells him that he has no secrets worth more than a friend's life. He says that the Geldwood Order would use magic to force people to confess against their will, so he was used to his friends having no other choice than to betray him. At the police station, Kuzaburo shows the footprint that Misaki left on his stomach to an officer called Aikawa. Immediately, she remembers seeing an identical footprint together with Lemming's footprint at the site where they found the human knots. While Kuzaburo is getting excited about the find, he accidentally reveals a Yakuza tattoo on his back. Lemmings first appeared 5 years earlier, and it's rumored that he'll do any job. Murder, kidnapping, robbery, and debt collection are just the top of the list of his crimes. He's also rumored to be supernaturally strong, and that he once barehandedly killed a whole group of people armed with submachine guns. Meanwhile, in Clarissa's bar, Tsubaki is getting drunk and having fun with some girls. He tells Clarissa that he knows that the criminal known as the Grim Reaper is one of her people, but she doesn't say anything, knowing there's a reason why he can't reveal that to the public. Polka and Misaki arrive in the bar. At the same time, Tsubaki gets a message from Kuzaburo describing Misaki's appearance and saying she's involved in the human knot case. Pretending nothing is wrong, Tsubaki tells them he'll buy them juice if they talk to him. In his computer room, Takumi sees Kuzaburo heading somewhere with 3 men. Having a realization, he contacts Polka and tells him to escape through the back door of the bar immediately. At the same time, Kuzaburo enters the bar, together with 3 men. The policeman acts nicely towards Misaki at first, but then Tsubaki gets up and tells her and Polka they need to come with them for questioning. Suddenly, the lights go out. Polka and Misaki try to escape together, but suddenly a gunshot rings out. Clarissa strikes a match and sees that Lemmings has appeared. Everyone freezes, but then Kuzaburo slowly approaches the newcomer, looking at Lemmings with his evil eye. Polka notices that there are a lot of spirits around him who are torn between hatred and fear. Suddenly, Kuzaburu's men are flung against the wall, apparently by Lemmings. Kuzaburo runs at the bandaged man and stabs him with a broken bottle, but the bottle breaks and Lemmings is unharmed. Kuzaburo then takes out a knife, but Lemmings simply catches it and throws him aside. Lemmings runs at Misaki, picks her up and kidnaps her. Polka almost uses his magic, but stops when he remembers that his peaceful life will be over if the police see his powers. Looking at Lemmings, he notices that he's similar to Shagura. Even though he's a human, his power is somehow pushed beyond human limits. Changing his mind, Polka uses his magic blades to stop Lemmings from escaping after all. As soon as Clarissa notices Tsubaki looking at the glowing ritual circles, she puts her match out, making the room pitch black. The only one able to see is Polka, so he grabs Misaki. Noticing that Lemmings can actually see too, Polka tries catching him with his skeleton arms, but Lemmings is just too fast and he smashes every single one. Grabbing Misaki again, he asks her something nobody else can hear. When she sees how angry he is at Polka, she tells him he's not a threat and reveals some kind of secret to him. After he relaxes, she bites him, trying to paralyze him, but it doesn't work because his bandages are too thick. Then, she puts a fork in her mouth and stabs him in the leg, paralyzing him. Using that chance, Polka summons a gigantic skeleton that attacks Lemmings and forces him to run away. After the commotion, only Tsubaki and Kuzaburo are left with Clarissa. Tsubaki admits he won't come back unarmed after what he saw. Later, inside a tall building, Lemmings reports to a serious bespectacled man who calls him Nezu and tells him that he found Polka somewhere in town. Takumi is surprised when Polka and Misaki tell him who they met. Everyone calls the man Lemmings because he can pop up anywhere, just like a horde of rodents. Polka thanks Misaki for saving him from Lemmings and she reminds him of his master. In the past, Polka's master told him that he'll live for a long time and he should learn to stop worrying about how long a connection with someone lasts. That's why he should help someone if he wants to help them, no matter if he knows them for 1 second or for 5 years. Realizing that he can't protect anyone with his weak body, Polka asks Takumi, Misaki, and the original Polka to help him understand this world. He tells them that he doesn't want a peace that requires sacrificing anyone he laughed with, no matter how briefly. In the tall building, the bespectacled man looks at a photograph with him and Polka in it and he laughs, surprised that Polka is still alive. The next day, Polka announces that he decided that money is his priority after all and that he will start a business. Having found a sane and reasonable spirit in the basement, he made a pact with it and let it possess a mechanical pencil. Presenting the pencil to Misaki and Takumi, Polka lets it write on a piece of paper and introduces itself as Hasorobai, the spirit of a person who died 5 years ago. Polka says that he wants to open a shop where he solves people's problems using magic. Takumi thinks he's out of his mind, but Hasorobai then tells them he has an idea. A week later, Polka is running a successful fortune-telling business and advice-giving service. It works like this. Takumi looks up data about the clients and Polka uses his evil eye to see if there are any spirits surrounding them. When he finds a spirit, he talks to them about his client, making him seem even more that he has a supernatural knowledge of them. The business is convincing and Polka's fortune-telling seems to be 100% accurate. Having gotten his first payment, Polka is happy. He decides to split it with Misaki, Takumi, the original Polka, and even Hasorogi, who's still just a mechanical pencil. However, the original Polka doesn't want any money, saying that he didn't contribute in any way. At that moment, 2 brown-haired children arrive accompanied by some men dressed in black. They cheerfully greet Polka and call him their uncle. Polka remembers that they're Kazuki and Shizuki, the original Polka's niece and nephew. He tries hiding his face, but it's useless since they've already seen him. Kazuki, the girl, then says they've arrived as customers. Polka tells them they're currently closed, but Kazuki won't have it. Arrogantly, she calls them peasants and demands Polka tells her fortune, but Takumi simply tells her he's going to call the police on her for barging into a store after closing time. Kazuki and Shizuki are shocked, but Kazuki doesn't give up. However, the men in black stop her, realizing that Takumi might be recording them. Seeing that Kazuki is about to cry, Polka tells Takumi to stop being mean to her. He hugs both twins and tells them they don't need their fortunes told because he'll protect them and make sure they have a bright future ahead of them. He tells them he isn't actually Polka, but that the real Polka will return home the following day. It turns out he sees a hideous spirit that's following the children. The spirit begs him to protect the children from something, and Polka promises her he will. After the children leave, Polka announces that he's going back to the real Polka's house the next day to keep an eye on the twins. Takumi explains that Polka is actually from the Shinoyama Group, an incredibly wealthy conglomerate built around the Shinoyama Bank. He's the second son of the family's head, Razan Shinoyama. Since Razan is very old, he could die at any moment and then Polka could claim a share of his inheritance. That's most likely why someone wanted the original Polka dead. Hearing this, Polka despairs, realizing that kind of thing is seriously hindering his plans for a peaceful life. Takumi thinks that Polka needs a bodyguard because he suspects that one of his relatives was the person who put a hit on him. Polka immediately realizes Misaki could play the part well. Meanwhile, Kazuki and Shizuki get into a car with the bespectacled man we saw before. He's called Takeru and he's another one of Polka's nephews. He seems suspicious and looks forward to Polka coming back home. The next day, Polka arrives at the Shinoyama mansion, which is a large and impressive building. He's welcomed by the twins and Takeru. Misaki came along with Polka, but she's acting completely different than usual. Neatly dressed, she perfectly plays the part of a refined young lady. Entering the mansion, everyone sits down at the dinner table together. Misaki explains that Polka helped her when she was about to jump to her death, which is why she's with him now. Recognizing Misaki as the daughter of the deceased owner of a company called Sakamiya Steel, Takeru accepts her because her parents helped him a lot when he was younger. We find out that Polka is the son of Razan and his second wife, but he also has a 48-year-old brother called Gaku who is from his father's first marriage. Before Polka visited the mansion, Takuma told him that he should be careful of Takeru. He's the president of Shinoyama Security, which is a company full of former cops. It's also rumored that they're controlling all the illegal parts of the Shinoyama Group. In the present, Kiri, a 24-year-old girl who is also one of Polka's nephews, tells Misaki she can count on her if she's ever in trouble, and Takeru welcomes her as a friend of the family too. Suddenly, Shizuki notices that Polka's shark plushie moved and asks Polka if he saw it, but another one of Polka's nieces interrupts them. It's Sayo, a strange 20-year-old girl who points out that the plushie's design is from a movie called The Sharkborg from Hell and starts rambling about it. The final person at the table is Razan's niece's husband, but not even the original Polka knows anything about him. At that moment, Razan enters the room. The mysterious relative immediately tries talking to him about his pharmaceutical company, but Razan blows him off and tells him to talk to Gaku instead. Polka apologizes to his father, but it turns out that Razan doesn't care about his apology at all. He's just glad that his son came back home. He invites Polka to talk to him in private. In another room, Polka explains everything about his job and where he lives, and Razan happily listens to him. However, when Polka finishes, Razan asks him who he really is. When Polka tries acting like he doesn't know what Razan is talking about, Razan pulls out a sword, telling him he's not a fool. He asks Polka where his real son is, but at that moment Polka feels that Kazuki and Shizuki might be in danger. He asks Razan to trust him and let him go protect them, and Razan lets him. Suddenly, there's an explosion in the distance. 2 years earlier, a woman called Suzuka was Shizuki and Kazuki's caretaker. When Kazuki lost her purse, Suzuka went out into the forest to look for it, but she ended up hearing something strange. Polka's mysterious relative helped someone infiltrate the mansion by getting a job as a butler. That other man told him that preparations for burning the Shinoyama mansion are going to take 2 years. Shocked, Suzuka let out her voice and the two heard her. She tried running away to tell someone about the two men's plans, but before she could reach the mansion, she was burnt to a cinder. That incident is later explained with an explosion in the mansion's boiler room, but Suzuka became a spirit that then haunted the Shinoyama twins. She begged someone to protect the children, but nobody heard her, which caused her to go completely mad. In the present, an attendant tells Kazuki and Shizuki that there's a fire and helps them leave the mansion safely. However, Suzuka Spirit knows there's something wrong and does her best to warn them, but they don't hear her. Meanwhile, Tsubaki and Kuzaburo visit a criminal who they call Phantom Solitaire. They show him footage of the building fire and Polka's skeletons and tell him that they think a criminal they named the fire-breathing bug was the perpetrator. Apparently, he always sets fires and leaves the message. This world is a buggy program at the scenes of his crimes. Since the fires spread impossibly fast, Tsubaki thinks that the bug takes his time meticulously preparing his attacks, just like bugs chewing through someone's house in secret. After that, he sets the fire and burns down his target all at once. At the burning Shinoyama mansion, everyone found their way outside, except Kazuki and Shizuki. They're still inside, where an attendant is claiming to be leading them to an escape tunnel. However, Kazuki realizes that there is actually no tunnel and they end up trapped in the basement. The man then gives them a wicked smile and electricity starts coming out of his hand. But before he can do anything, Misaki appears and kicks him to the ground. She announces that she and Polka have arrived to protect the children. Taking off a mask, the man reveals his true appearance. He's bald and has a burn mark on his face. He's looking forward to burning down both Misaki and the twins, but Misaki doesn't feel threatened and tells the twins to run away upstairs while she takes the man on. Left alone with him, Misaki starts fighting the creepy man, who dodges her attacks and spreads fire everywhere. But she isn't scared and runs after him with an iron pipe. However, she's shocked when he tells her that the twins won't make it in time because the path in front of them is already burning. Surrounded by fire, Kazuki and Shizuki think that they're responsible for everything that's happening. They feel like it's their fault that Suzuka died and now her spirit is getting revenge. Just before flaming debris falls on them, they're suddenly saved. Holding the debris back with his skeleton arms, Polka tells them that Suzuka has never stopped caring for them. Driving a car, Polka's mysterious relative is excited, knowing that the Shinoyama mansion is burning down. It turns out that he hired the fire-breathing bug to do it because Razan embarrassed him in front of everyone in the past. Suddenly, a woman in a motorcycle helmet arrives, stops his car and knocks him out. Outside of the Shinoyama mansion, Polka stops a suspicious maid that seems like she's trying to run away. Suddenly, Misaki arrives and kicks the maid into a wall. Injured, the maid reveals herself to be the fire-breathing bug in disguise. Thinking that Polka is bluffing about having magic powers, he shoots fire at both him and Misaki, sure of his victory. Polka isn't sure if he'll be able to protect himself, since he's low on magic, but Lemming suddenly appears and knocks the bug out. Some time later, the mysterious relative wakes up and realizes he's tied to a chair. Takeru appears from the darkness and tells him that he knows that he hired the fire-breathing bug, who is currently being escorted to jail. More people show up behind Takeru, and it turns out they're the ones who do the Shinoyama group's dirty work. Even Lemmings is among them. Meanwhile, Phantom Solitaire tells Tsubaki that the building fire doesn't look like it was set by the fire-breathing bug, but rather a common criminal. At the same time, the person we thought was the bug is riding in a police car. Suddenly, the words, "This world is a buggy program" appear on the car's roof, but after them the words, "So it cries for the flame" appear too. The fake bug is shocked and hallucinates the policemen in the car saying that fake bugs must be exterminated. At that moment, the fake bug's face starts burning. He runs out of the car in a panic, but he doesn't get far before he explodes. Standing on an overpass, a pink-haired girl with an umbrella watches all this while singing a children's song. After all the commotion, Razan orders Polka and Misaki to explain everything. Polka reveals to him that he came from another world and everything else that happened after that. Meanwhile, Lemmings tells Takeru everything he knows about Polka. In the Shinoyama mansion, Razan hears Polka out and believes his story when he sees his magic. Suddenly, he points his sword at Misaki's neck, telling her he can't forgive her for slitting his son's throat. Suddenly, the stuffed shark with the original Polka's soul inside of it jumps in front of his sword. Looking at the plushie, Razan intuitively realizes that his son's soul is inside of it. Unexpectedly, he starts laughing loudly and tells Polka and Misaki that he can't stay mad at them, since Polka can turn the original Polka back to normal only if he has another body to possess. Razan offers to give him a robotic body he can put his soul in. He still thinks it would be safer for his son if his soul stayed in the plushie while his life is still being targeted. In the end, Razan even forgives Misaki, since she saved his grandkids. After they part ways with Razan, Misaki apologizes to the original Polka for the first time and also thanks him. Kazuki and Shizuki run to them and thank Misaki and Polka for saving them, but Polka tells them that he didn't save them. He says that the corpse god was the one who actually saved them, together with their guardian spirit, which leaves them confused. Before Polka leaves together with Misaki, he sees Suzuka's spirit together with the children, this time happy and at peace. Meanwhile, Tsubaki and Kuzaburo are still interrogating Phantom Solitaire. They heard that the real fire-breathing bug appeared and attacked someone, but Phantom Solitaire is more interested in the skeletons they showed him before. Suddenly, the lights go out and Phantom Solitaire escapes. Later, Tsubaki gathers everyone from his division. 3 years before, Phantom Solitaire first appeared and stole a painting from a museum. He left it in the street and explained that his motive was giving to make videos about. However, the crime that made him world famous was making Japan's prime minister disappear with a magic trick. In order to prove that his crimes aren't political, he kidnapped the heads of all the opposition parties too. Surprisingly, that same evening the prime minister was released and found in a manga cafe, making the Japanese police force an international laughingstock. After that, Solitaire turned himself in and revealed that his illusions and tricks were actually a message for the real sorcerers and psychics of the world. He wanted to meet a real wizard and prove to the children of the world that real magic exists. But a real wizard never reached out to him, so he lost spirit and turned himself in. At Polka's house, Polka proudly shows Takumi a second-hand radio he bought, thinking it's a modern device that will help him gather information. He plugs it into the wall and they hear a news report about the fake buggying and a car explosion. At the same time, Tsubaki and Kuzaburo see a news report about Phantom Solitaire escaping. Even thought he just saw him escape. It turns out the report is on every channel and that the news anchor is actually Phantom Solitaire himself. Flamboyantly, Solitaire reveals himself and announces that he'll start performing his illusions again in 1 week. After the broadcast, Tsubaki theorizes that Solitaire paid someone called the Grocer to hijack the TV signal for him. It turns out that Solitaire broke out when the real fire-breathing bug contacted him. The two meet upon a rooftop. Solitaire then gets a call and it turns out to be the fire-breathing bug, even though he's standing right in front of him. While they're talking, Solitaire throws a card at the bug, but the bug burns it with fire. Meanwhile, Misaki and Takumi tell Polka about Solitaire. When they ask him if there were similar troublemakers in his world, Polka tells them there were dragons, elementals, and similar creatures. Suddenly, he remembers that, even though those creatures don't exist in the world he's in right now, they are present in a lot of stories. He decides to compare the creatures from both worlds thoroughly. On a rooftop, the fire-breathing bug keeps attacking Solitaire with blasts of fire, even though Solitaire just wants to talk. However, he doesn't feel threatened and skillfully evades the attacks and protects himself by doing magic tricks. In the end, Solitaire somehow jumps on top of the bug's umbrella and tells him that he realized that he doesn't use real magic and he's disappointed. When Solitaire tells him that Polka might be using real magic, the bug gets interested. At Polka's apartment, Seo knocks on the door together with that black-haired boy. She asks Polka to let them stay with him for a while. Polka is confused, but lets her in. Seo introduces her attendant, Lei, who came with her carrying her things. Dejectedly, Sei reveals that she came because all her sharks burned up. She lost her bedroom in the fire, together with her collection of shark memorabilia. Razan sent a video message too asking Polka to let Seo stay with him. However, he says that the real reason is because he thinks having two of his people in the building would be convenient for him. At that moment, Polka feels that the building he lives in is being watched by more people than usual. He thinks that Lei is Seo's bodyguard and that there's also a possibility that Seo was the one behind the attempt on the original Polka's life. The next morning, Seo wakes up and she's as lifeless as ever. She just goes back to sleep again. Lei apologizes for her and tells the others that Seo is still in shock. Takumi and the others decide to prepare a room for the two, but Seo says she can sleep wherever if she's in her shark-themed sleeping bag, and Lei says he can sleep while standing. Lei also brought everything that he needs to take care of Seo, so he takes out a portable stove and starts cooking breakfast for her. He says that, along with guarding Seo, he was sent to assist Polka too. Polka asks him what the situation is like at the Shinoyama mansion, and Lei tells him that it's buzzing with police, so it's best that Polka doesn't return for a while. At the mansion, Tsubaki and Kuzaburo are questioning Takeru. Takeru them that it wasn't the real fire-breathing bug that attacked the mansion. He knows the real bug well because he has always been bothering Takeru's company, Shinoyama Security, by burning down some of their clients' buildings and tarnishing their reputation. While the cops are leaving, Tsubaki reveals to Kuzaburo that he recognized that Polka is in one of the Shinoyama family photos. He also noticed that the human knot victims were at odds with part of the Shinoyama group. Tsubaki wonders if the culprit could be Polka or Takeru. Takeru is aware that Tsubaki is suspecting him, but he decides to let him alone in the hope that he'll expose Polka's secrets for him. Meanwhile, Polka introduces Seo and Lei to their new room. Lei is very grateful and Seo doesn't say anything. That night, while everyone is sleeping, Lei suddenly wakes up. He taps on his head twice, which somehow makes him able to overhear Polka and Takumi's conversation. When Razan sent Lei to Shinjuku, he told him that Polka was a fake, but that he's not the Shinoyama family's enemy and that he needs to protect him. However, Lei doesn't believe that and he wants to expose Polka in front of everyone. Sneaking out of his room, Lei intends to kill the fake Polka, but also the real one. He always thought that Polka was a weakling and he didn't accept him as Razan's son. He respects Razan immensely and thinks he himself would be a better son for him. In the past, Lei ran into a dangerous criminal called Agakira on his first job and lost all his 4 limbs. His father thought he won't be able to continue working and told him he will serve as a Tinghu from then on. To Lei's absolute horror, Razan, who Lei's family is working for, overheard that and asked what Ting Hu is. Lei's father explained that, in his clan, Ting Hu is a type of human vessel. Some of the poisons the clan uses require fungi that only grow in the entrails of living children, so they use children to grow them. Having heard this, Razan got angry and told him he can't treat his own son like that. However, Lei's clan doesn't even consider themselves people, but tools. They don't have any bonds among each other and there is no compassion for broken tools. Having heard all that, Razan offered to buy Lei from his father. He offered him priority access to the Shinoyama group's latest technology in exchange for his clan giving up on poison. Lei has been listening to all this the whole time and Razan then turned to him. He said that he just wants a new guinea pig for his latest prosthetics. But his warm smile proved Lei that he really cared. In the present, Clarissa tells her waitresses that she doesn't think that someone from the Shinoyama family ordered Polka to be assassinated. She noticed that Razan loves his son very much and someone from the family killing Polka would be a huge betrayal. Meanwhile, Lei continues listening to Polka and Takumi's conversation. He hears them talking about dragons and he's furious because he thinks that Polka is constantly talking about video games or comic books. Suddenly, Polka says that Lei seems really devoted to his work because he's keeping watch outside Seo's door. Lei doesn't understand how Polka can detect him even though there aren't any surveillance cameras. Thinking Polka is making a fool of him, he swears that he will expose him. The next day, Subakai teaches his police squad everything he knows about Polka and Misaki. He investigated Polka and learned that he tells fortunes in Shinjuku. A little while later, Tsubaki and Kuzaburo visit Polka's fortune-telling business and ask him to read their fortune.